Hello, friends. Pastor Justin here, and today I have the privilege and the blessing of sitting with Margaret Cohenour. And Margaret is the executive director, is that correct, of the Paluxy River Children's Advocacy Center.
Yes.
And Margaret, I have to say that really slowly because that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Children's Advocacy Center. Maybe it's appropriate that I have to slow down and say that, because the process of working with kids that have been traumatized is that's a long, challenging, intentional process that has to be done with great care.
Yes.
Well, thank you for the chance to come in today and sit with you. And why don't we start out? We would like to get to know PRCAC today and a little bit about what you do and who you are. But first, we just love to get to know you a little better too. So introduce yourself. Tell us about you. What's your story? What brought you here? Why are you so passionate about this work?
Wow. Okay. Well, my name is Margaret Cohenour. I'm originally from Fort Worth, Texas. Born and raised, my entire family. I decided to move to New Mexico and was there for 18 years. And while I was there, I started working at a health clinic, and I got involved in helping children and families get on Medicaid to get help. So got exposed to it, started doing some educational stuff in the school, substance abuse, all kinds of things that were going on in the 80s, right?
Right.
And decided to go back to school. And so I got my bachelor's and master's degree in social work. And I had started it early on. I'm one of those that went back later. So I did beat my children. I graduated before they graduated from high school. And I had the unique opportunity to internship for a nonprofit in Taos, New Mexico. It was a residential treatment center for adolescent girls. I always swore I would never do clinical work. I wanted to be a juvenile probation officer. And 12 years later, I was the executive director of that agency. I had done everything from intern counseling, whatever grew it. We added a boys residential. We added treatment foster care. We added counseling and really grew that program. And I loved it, but I wanted to come home.
Yes.
And so I moved back to Texas in 2005. Worked for Lena Pope in Fort Worth for several years, running a counseling program for them. And then real excited to come here and do Children's Advocacy Center. I have 25 plus years of experience working with children and families, but an advocacy center was a new adventure for me. I'd been associated with children advocacy centers, but didn't know the inside track. What I love and have come to learn about is you do have to have a real heart and a passion for children to do this work. All the staff is specially trained to do what they do, and it's children first. I mean, all we care about is what's in the best interest of the child. So that's our focus, that every child is going to get every service. We're going to make every effort, no matter what we have to do. Our mission is to promote the healing of children, and that's what we want to do. But we also want to prevent child abuse. So we've added the outreach and education and tried to really beef that up as well. So while we're trying to help children who are abused get justice and then healing through the counseling process, we also would love for those children to not get abused. So we've got a lot of different things going on here that I can share with you. But yeah, so this was another adventure, and I've learned so much in the couple of years of being here and being involved in this work. It's very critical, very important, and there's a lot of kids out there that we have not reached yet.
Right. I have heard, you'll know a lot more about this than I do. I have heard that child abuse neglect rates in Hood County are worse than some of the counties around us and surrounding areas. Why is that?
The district attorney addressed that in the paper a few weeks ago, because that is a question that comes up when you look at percentages on calls, and it could be a couple of different things. I don't know that we have more abuse, but I definitely think the awareness helps. There's more reports being made.
Okay.
And we have law enforcement and a prosecution that takes it very seriously.
Yes.
And we really encourage our teachers and professional reporters to call in this report. So that could have something to do with it. I do think it's high. I think it could be with unemployment. It could be some of the rural communities where there's not a lot of access. there's poverty and homelessness here,
Yes.
but child abuse happens in affluent families as
Yes.
well. So
Yes.
even that, you can't really blame on the demographics.
Right.
But it's definitely something we keep an eye on, and we've been watching because it is higher. And there are a lot of different factors that researchers will say plays into that. I'm not an expert on the demographics, but I have seen them, and it ties back to all the different factors of being a rural small community and not having all the resources a big city would.
Right. Right. No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate hearing that maybe part of what we're seeing is not necessarily related to higher rates, but to better reporting and awareness. That's good news, actually, if we're doing that a little better than some communities are. Yeah.
I feel like we really are. I mean, this pandemic has put a damper on that because we're so concerned about children that were out of school prematurely, because that means safe faces might not be watching those children. You know? And so we just had to do a lot. We've done a lot to try and reach people virtually and through the newspaper, through printed material, to try to make sure that people are keeping an eye and being observant, you know, when they're seeing children out in the community.
Yeah. Okay. So you talked about the advocacy center model.
Correct.
What is that? Tell us about that, and then tell us about PRCAC.
Yes, definitely. The Children's Advocacy Model was set up to provide a neutral, safe place for a child to share their story one time so that they would not be re-traumatized over and over and over again. Prior to CAC models, if a child is sexually or physically abused or at risk, they're going to get interviewed by a sheriff's department, prosecution, CPS, several different numerous people will be involved, and that child will get re-traumatized every time. And when the Children's Advocacy Model was created in Hood County, it was in 2006 when we did our first interview. The idea was to bring all those services together as a multidisciplinary team, and we coordinate the activities. So we will get a call from Child Protective Services or law enforcement that they want to have a child that needs to be interviewed. They come to our center, and we will conduct a very independent, unbiased, fact-finding interview. Our forensic interviewers are trained to do this. And while doing that, law enforcement and CPS can listen, observe from another room, ask questions, and before they leave that day, they'll have an opportunity to get everything they feel like they need to further their investigation. And we will burn a DVD of the interview and provide a summary for them. And they take that with them. Rarely a child might have to be interviewed again, but usually we get them everything that they need in that first one. And so with that forensic interview, we also have a family advocate that will work with the family and the child and walk them through the process. If prosecution feels like there's a case and they're going to go, you know, further with that, maybe to the grand jury and a trial, we walk with that child and that family through that, you know, the protective caregiver. And sometimes there's resources that this family needs because all of a sudden maybe the breadwinner's in jail, you know, or we've put families up in hotels or contacted other agencies within the community to find out what we can get for this family to help them kind of adjust to their new normal, their new life. And then as that justice piece is happening, and we don't control it after it leaves us, but we stay on top of it and work with family. We offer counseling services as well, and feel like these children who've been traumatized, family members, siblings, we offer trauma-informed counseling for all of those. All the therapists have been trained in multiple therapies. We have play therapy, we have EMDR. There's several different modalities that they use and gear towards the child, the age, and the family. And we'd love to show people our play therapy rooms and let the therapist show what they do, which is really exciting work. It's very rewarding work. It's a whole different side of the situation, from the forensic interview to the counseling. And then we stay with them through the whole process till they reach a point where they can graduate and have a healing closing ceremony and move on.
Wow.
That's what we're doing.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
It's wonderful. And I can see the light and the passion in your eyes as you talk about that.
It's really nice
to
see them come out on the other side.
Yes. As you look around our community, right now. What concerns you most? Are there trends? I'm sure COVID has exacerbated things. It has not helped at all. Yeah. What are you concerned about as you look around our town right now?
Yeah.
Is it same concerns as normal, or
probably an increased concern when this hit in March? And we had to shelter in place, and then the governor declared us an essential service, which allowed us to continue to work. So we never did shut down. We've continued to do our interviews, family advocacy. We did switch to telecounseling, which is something we had not offered before. And that's actually been a positive because we didn't realize how quickly we could convert to that if we needed to. Some clients do better in office. So we probably have a percentage of our clients that we've not been able to re-engage since all the shutdown happened. And that's concerning because we can't reach them. And so, but for those who we have been able to reach and engage, they're staying connected with their therapist. So from day one, they were contacting them every week, and staying on top of that. Now we're able to see them here in the office. And some have chosen to continue to do it virtually. And so I think we made the transition pretty quickly and pretty efficiently. Staff just immediately shifted because, okay, we've got kids that are being abused. We got to make sure they're still being taken care of. I think when we saw the numbers just stall the first few weeks, that was terrifying because we knew there was no way with people losing their jobs, kids not in school, stress levels. So we have a YouTube channel too. And so we've started doing videos and educational materials, flyers that got put in all the lunch sacks that go out with the different programs, just trying to get information into people's hands. And I've talked to some of the workers from other agencies, and when they do see children or families pick up lunches, they just kind of do that extra little look. And we appreciate that very much because it takes all of us being more alert and aware right now to make sure children are safe.
Amen. Yeah. So tell us about that. Now, as I came in today, I got to meet a couple of your team members, and they're wonderful. You clearly have a great team here.
They're awesome.
But to your point, the team is really all of us in the community if we want to stamp this out. What does PRCAC need from us, your community? How can our church help? We really try, and we talk about this a lot. We don't always do it well, but churches sometimes struggle with sort of getting ideas about what we want to do to serve, when really what we need to do is listen to what the real needs of the community are. So we're trying to do that. Talk to us about what you need and how we can help.
Okay. And those needs do change. So I appreciate you saying that. Right now we've had, I think, 5 or 6 new volunteers come on since COVID-19, orientation ready to go. And I can't let them back in the building. So it's so hard. It's like we need them so much because they're our voices in the community. We can talk to so many people. So allowing us to do presentations at organizations, even doing the recognize and reporting training, we do it for anyone who works with children, whether it's Sunday school classes, preschools, daycares. We go out and do a recognize and reporting training because a lot of people aren't aware that we are all obligated legally to report if we see something that we don't feel right about. It's not up to us to investigate it, to try to figure out, did something really happen? Not let the right people deal with that, make that call. And you can do it anonymously. The more information you can provide, the better. Sometimes it'll get screened out, but sometimes it might be a welfare check. It might be following up, but sometimes something really bad's going on that somebody just got a gut feeling about. So we say, please make those calls. So I think helping us spread that information and that education helps tremendously. Obviously, sometimes we need extra resources, and churches have been so generous. If we put out a call, we need diapers or we need snacks. One of the things we do for every child that walks in our door, whether it's an interview or counseling, is we give them kind of a little lunch sack, and they get a salty and a sweet snack, and they get a juice box or water. And we've had kids skip lunch so they could get one of those bags. They're going to get one anyway, but it's just kind of that nurturing, something meet that physical need, and then they can kind of deal more with the emotional side of it. Sometimes we have to order pizza for a family because they're going to be here for hours because law enforcement has to go out, maybe make arrest, and we need to make sure that family stays safe. So we have needs that kind of vary, and we'll post them on Facebook or we'll send out a plug, and the community always responds when we do that. So we hate to always ask. So sometimes we just like to come out and say, thank you to the community for just being there for us. And that's what we did yesterday. We walked the square and just thanked all the small businesses for just helping us, and just told them who we were. We didn't ask for anything, because as a nonprofit, you always have needs and stuff. And with this shutdown and stuff, donations are down, contributions are down, but we really feel like we will be okay because we're all kind of recognizing life still goes on. Child abuse is still happening. We haven't cured it yet. We want to, but we have it. We've got a lot more kids to reach. And I always use that statistic that if only 1 in 10 children tells, that means there's 9 children not telling their story that we have not reached yet. That part of us, every opportunity we have to talk and share. And then from a volunteer perspective, we've had groups come in and help us paint an office or dig up the weeds in the front. We rent here, so they let us do whatever we want pretty much with the building because they're not going to, I love them, but they're absent, and it's like, you don't want that bush and you want to replace it, go for it. So we will sometimes call on the community to assist us with that. And so we have different projects. But.
So I'm hearing at least 3 or 4 things here. Let me make sure I've heard you well. So first of all, we all need to be, in general, aware of child abuse. And if we suspect anything, I mean, I'm a mandatory reporter.
You are.
But all of us, if we suspect something, make the call. Just err on the side of caution there. Go ahead and make the call to CPS. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a 1-800 hotline number. I don't know by memory, but yes.
Yes, and then let them do what they do. Let the professionals there do what they do. Spread the word, right?
Yes.
Communicate to other people in town that PRCAC is here, that this is a pressing problem in our community, and that we have to work together as community. So spread the word. Third, there may be volunteer opportunities, and that's different right now because of our circumstances. But if we monitor your website, you would post those kinds of things there?
Yes, mainly that and Facebook. And if we have emails, we'll send out a plug. We do have volunteers doing a 4th of July. We're participating in the parade.
Sure.
We have, and our volunteers are the ones that are doing that. So we're excited about that.
Well, I will make sure before I leave today that we're on your list, because we would like, when you do put out the call, we'd like to know, so that if we can help, we will. And then financially, like you said, this is a challenging time for everybody financially. But groups like this one take a hit in these times. And if people want to give financially, how can they do that?
We do have a link through our Facebook page, Flexi River Children's Advocacy Center, and also on our website. And then you can always call in, or you can drop by. I mean, we love to show people around. We're doing it by appointment right now, just to make sure that we don't have too many people in the building. But we love for people to come see. And one of the things we've got planned for early August is an open house for all the counselors in all the schools to come see and kind of have a better understanding of what we do, and then kind of do a mini overview of recognizing and reporting training. And we have curriculums for all children, all ages, and continue to update that. So we talk to them about internet safety, body safety, every topic you can imagine, stranger danger, trafficking. We've got all this is going on right now. And so we are just really focused on trying to get that information out there, because it's so much bigger than what we think. And we just ran a report yesterday, and this whole last year, every interview that we've done, perpetrators, there's not been one stranger. It's all been somebody they knew. And so that is a whole different way of looking at it as well. Is that, we're trying to educate people that it could be somebody you really love and care about that has hurt your child and you didn't know it. So just watching for those signs, there's things you can look for.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. To me, that's one of the most tragic aspects of this whole thing, is the fact that it isn't typically some stranger who walks up to the door.
I remember learning that in school, stranger danger, don't talk to strangers. That's all I heard. I never heard be cautious about great so-and-so, and so that's something that we really talk about with kids.
I know that, so I know confidentiality is critical. and I know you can't use names or specificities here, but can you tell us a story of a young person that you're proud of, without using names or specific details? Just tell us in general terms about a young person whose life you've seen changed, and maybe some of the blessing that you've seen come out of this work. Okay, I know that's hard to do without a lot of detail.
Because, I think one that comes to mind, and I'll probably blend a little bit of other children into it, so it keeps it, is a young boy that was sexually abused, and very, very traumatic, very difficult for the family, and came through the interview process. There were, it was prosecuted and moved on, and the child got into counseling services, and after a lot of counseling, deemed successful. There's a rock in the hero garden for this child, and he has continued to excel in school, activities, sports. We're here if they need us, but extended family members still express gratitude to my staff here for being able to help that child and that family through the process, and then still being here for them. So, we hope that we could do that with every child that comes in our door, is that they reach that other side. Some can do it a lot sooner than others, but it's been a couple of years, and this child is becoming an adolescent and doing quite well. So our prayer would be that would continue.
Yes.
The idea of helping that child deal with their trauma when they're young is they're not going to be an adult that has never told anybody or talked about it. And then when they do, it's like a complete breakdown. We've had adults, grown people, stand up and say, I was abused, and have never told anybody that ever. And so I'm thinking, what an awful thing to have to keep inside all those years. And had there been somebody they could have talked to,
right,
then maybe they could have gotten some healing, and it wouldn't have impacted relationships all the way along.
I would imagine that touches everything in your life. I mean, if you're
Absolutely.
Carrying that, especially if you're holding it and haven't had the chance to talk to somebody.
It's traumatic to be abused. And I've known people that have, been sexually assaulted. And the trauma that goes along with that, it's that hidden. You don't see all that damage. It's inside, but it's really, really difficult. So I really admire our counselors that work with these kids and help them process through all this. And they've done some amazing work. Yes.
No doubt. And they're touching more than that child's life, because am I correct in saying that there tends to be, there's cyclicality to abuse?
Absolutely, yes.
And so that if you can intervene early in a situation, and as happened with this young man, make possible new patterns and rhythms and ways of interacting, that work may also be preventing, it may be breaking that cycle and preventing this happening again 20 years from now to someone else.
Yes, that would be an ultimate goal. And we do work with the families as well, the non-offending caregivers. So we do family sessions as well and help the parents deal with the child. Yes. I mean, sometimes, they don't know what to do or how to support their child. So we do a lot of that as well. And we've actually gotten calls to see adults who were traumatized that need counseling now, that will come in and not come through the interview process. And that's one of the things that we do offer that a lot of people don't realize, is that trauma counseling. You do not have to have a forensic interview to access our counseling services. And it was limited at the beginning, but we've been able to grow our staff and offer that to people throughout the community. So we do parenting classes and go do sessions for some of the schools. We've done lunch and learn. So we're willing to we'll talk to anybody about it that's interested and wants more information. We will go provide that for them.
Thank you for that. Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You have a beautiful facility here.
Thank you.
Can we see a little bit of it? Sure. Can I walk the computer around?
Walk the computer.
We'll unplug here. I think I've got enough power to do that. So. I'll keep this as steady as I can here as we walk. Hopefully nobody will get motion sickness as we go.
I'll let you lead the way down the hallway. This is our home director. You're going to be on camera. He wants to come see our hallway. So
the finance director doesn't get photographs.
Oh, well.
she's part.
Oh,
She's part of our team. So yeah,
there
definitely.
you go.
So you're in the
Okay.
administrative side of the building. So we
Okay.
are heading towards the hallway where you will get to see our handprints.
Okay. You're becoming more and more prominent in the shot at every moment here.
He is,
I don't know why that's happening.
Because
Can I
he's
get out
doing
of the
this
picture
live.
when you start over
Sure.
again? Thank you.
this is the hallway with our handprints. So
There you go.
see, you know, work goes on, right? So in the midst of all this, we had to purchase several laptops
Mhm.
so all our staff could work from home.
Mhm.
Now we've got the backpacks coming in so that we can keep them safe and be good stewards of
Okay.
our resources.
Okay.
Right?
Makes sense.
So that's what you all are seeing. But this hallway, what I was sharing earlier is when a child has done a forensic interview, they have an opportunity after they tell their story to put their handprint on the wall. And that is their way of saying, yes, you did a good job. You accomplished something very difficult and challenging. And so it's kind of a hero moment for a lot of the children because they've been able to tell their story. We give them an opportunity to take a stuffed animal or a book or a game from our treasure chest. And this is something else the community keeps provided for us. They drop off games, new stuffed animals, and we pass these on to the children as they come through. This was the plastic barrier I told you about that we had to create because we did want to make sure our children and staff stay safe. So that's been a number one priority through this pandemic is that we are going to make sure both are safe, staff and child. So this is a barrier. Our staff wears masks and gloves, but we've not turned down one interview. We've been available whenever needed. We've gone wherever we needed to do that. And I know that I shared in our hallway here, we have captured photos of handprints from previous CACs as the agency has grown from smaller settings and moved into a bigger building. We're 3 different suites that are connected. So this is our family advocacy forensic interview side. Then you saw our business office, and then we have our counseling offices, which I would love to show you all, but we have clients over there.
I understand. Margaret, this is, as I look at these handprints, this is beautiful, and this is hard to see.
It is.
This is really hard to see
I will
because
show
of what.
you our ceremony. Yes,
Yeah.
it is hard. I'll share when I've been here a little over 2 years, and there weren't any handprints this end of the hallway.
Mhm.
But the last 2 years, we've done over 600 interviews a year. That's 50 a month, and they definitely add up. But there was one little bitty pink hand, and every time I see that, I think that is a very young child.
Yeah.
Like maybe 3 or 4. And then you'll see bigger ones. Some like to see how high they can get because we will
Mhm.
see kiddos here up to 17 and 18. So it does represent a lot of abuse. And this isn't all the interviews we do because we also do virtual. We go out to the schools and do interviews
Mhm.
remotely. And we go to ERAF and Somerville if needed. If they cannot come here, we don't want transportation to be a barrier. So we will go to them.
Every handprint represents pain, but
Yes.
also courage and resiliency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the handprint helps them feel that as well.
Mhm.
It's that first step towards healing. They've
Yes.
told their story, and now, there's got to be some relief in being able to do that.
Yes.
And not every child will disclose the first time, which is sometimes challenging when you know something might have happened, but maybe you hope that if they're maybe just very high risk, that will prevent something from happening because you can at least educate them along the way, and they may decide to talk later. But the children are pretty comfortable in here, and that's how I just a warm, friendly environment, make them comfortable. It's all about them, and make them feel safe. That's the ideal.
Can I show them the train room? Is there nobody in there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I
Speaking of warmth and comfort,
There you go.
I don't want my son to see this though because he'll be very jealous.
Well, he's welcome to come. You can bring him for a tour. We had a little boy, one of my board members' grandson, decided to have a birthday party, and all the gifts would be for children here.
Mm.
And so every child brought gifts, and he got to come deliver them, and he loved this room. And then just knowing he was only going to be 5, and
Right.
he donated his birthday presents to us.
So this is the room where children would start
Yes,
when they come
this
in.
is when they walk in the door, they're going to stay out here until the family advocate can take them back and show them the interview room.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Disney Channel, we have Wi-Fi connection. So sometimes they're here for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will order pizza or bring something in and just try to keep the family as comfortable and as they can be in
Sure.
a really awkward, bad situation. So,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. And did you want to see the Hero Garden?
I would love to see the Hero Garden. Yeah, I think our people would like to as well.
We may have to come at it from the outside.
That's fine.
If,
That's perfectly fine.
we'll slip through the lobby here and I will take you around and that way I can show it to you from the outside.
Okay.
As I was sharing with you, this is the final step in the journey to healing for our children. Maybe not final because we're always going to be here for them, but it's our Heroes Garden. And when a child has done all their treatment and they are ready to graduate and not have to come anymore, they will paint a rock with their therapist. And we have a ceremony and we recognize them as our hero. And we invite family members, all the staff come celebrate. We give them some gifts. We give them a story and kind of talk to them and just really reassure and encourage them as they start another journey. And we're here for them to come back. But every child that comes in here always stops and looks. And we'll talk about wanting to be able to put their rock in the garden. And they don't mess with them. You know, you would think that they get stolen or children would mess with them, and they don't. They're wherever the kid places them, and that's where they stay.
That's where they stay.
And when they come back, they will look. If they happen to come back, they're going to look to make sure their rock is still there. So we will try and build that up a little bit later on in the year, but for right now, that's a real special healing ceremony for the child when they don't need to come to counseling anymore.
We're doing a sermon series right now on resurrection. And,
Oh, wow.
And every one of those rocks is a story of resurrection. You know,
Yes.
new life
It is, yes.
born out of darkness and pain. Yeah.
We really celebrate that moment with them because it's a long, painful journey, and we're still going to be here if they need that refresher later on. You know, sometimes they just need to know we're still here. But we've seen some kids go on and do some amazing things, so we are very pleased with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Margaret, thank you so much
You're
for your
welcome.
time
Thank you.
today, and thank you more than
Appreciate
that
it.
for the work that you do and the difference that
Appreciate
you
it.
make for the kids of our
This
community.
community's been wonderful for us. Your church has been very, very generous with us, and we appreciate this very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.